Hey guys, I'm Jax and this is my spoiler review for The Boys Season 3 finale, titled The Instant White Hot Wild. It's a fine title, but I would have titled this episode, which I think is more apt and, fitting, I would have titled it Daddy Issues. So many daddy issues, just all the daddy issues. You got daddy issues? Join the boys cast, because we've all got daddy issues. That title's too long. Just call it Daddy Issues. And so let's start with that. Let's start with the best stuff in this episode, which kind of revolved around everyone being like, I got some daddy issues. What do you got? I also have daddy issues. Let's be men and try not to cry. And then one of them's got like a little tear dripping down his eye, and you're like, look at these men trying not to, be emotionally raw, but jeez, they're broken and they're broken and they're sad, but they're men. And that kind of comes to the forefront, which I just want to get straight to the Soldier Boy and Homelander of it all. It's so good, but it's also so, devastating and tragic. I really wanted them to embrace and be a father and son. I don't know, and I always kept thinking, oh, bring Ryan back. And he can be like, you've got a grandson. My son, your grandson, I'm your son. And, they'd say father and son a lot and hug, and there'd be a trilogy of hugging, and they've all got powers, and it would just be lovely and nice. But it's the boys, so we do get that, which was so spectacular. Starting the episode, and Ryan's there, throwing catch by himself, and he's just hurtling the ball to the edge of the solar system, or wherever the hell. Also, him throwing that ball, that's coming down at some point. That probably killed somebody, or crashed a car, or it destroyed something. At best, it hit a tree and it fell. So Homelander finds his son, Ryan, and they have a beautiful, heartwarming kind of discussion. And Ryan's all like, just, don't you hate me? Don't you hate me? And he's all sad and broken. I love how they're handling Homelander. On one hand, he's just a horrible, terrifying villain, but they're never just portraying him as this mindless psychopath who's just like, I'm evil, Superman. Oh, I'll kill everyone. Oh, I'm mad. He's so human. He's got so many great human flaws, and he's just so devastating when it comes to family, and it's so powerful. I love how they're presenting him and Ryan, and the way he's like, Ryan, it doesn't matter, if you do something horrible, I forgive you. I'll always forgive you. You're my son. And it was so good. And then seeing his aunt in the background just being like, oh no, who wrote this script for him? This is so beautiful. How dare he say these things? And then Ryan's like, oh, this is pretty awesome. I want my papa. And they fly off together, and then he brings him back in that big Soldier Boy confrontation, and I just loved it so much. It was so awesome to see him literally be like, and this is exactly what I wanted. He's just like, my son, I'm your son, grandson, let's be a family. And he's so desperate in that moment. He's so raw and kind of open. And because Soldier Boy is this old school kind of dad from the past, this kind of gruffer, ooh, these men these days aren't men's men. And he just breaks his heart. And he broke my heart. It was so devastating. I love Soldier Boy. But in that moment, it became inevitable. The way a season finale does, where you're like, well, Soldier Boy's out. This is his last episode. He's not going to, I kind of really wanted a dynamic of season 4, at least some of it, to have him as his father and have all three of them kind of together. But when this season ended with Homelander and his son in that amazing scene, which I'll get to, it kind of all made sense to me. I'm like, no, this does work. Having the grandfather be like, you're not a real man. And he was like, I wanted to treat my son better than my dad treated me. And then he does the exact same thing. Oh, the cycle of parenthood. So good. It's written so well. I love it. It's such a great dynamic. All of them kind of having that big punch on. And I never really felt like I knew exactly what was going to happen in this kind of final showdown. I kind of knew Soldier Boy was going to get defeated and, killed or locked back up like he is. But everything else was really surprising. And I loved how he punches Ryan, and then Butcher and Homelander both look at each other and go, all right, we're doing a cheeky team up. One of those classic, we hate each other, but we hate this guy more kind of team ups. And they're both wink with their laser vision eyes, and they're like, we're buddies for 5 seconds. Both of them shooting their laser at Soldier Boy, and he's like, get his Captain America shield. So good, so much fun. This show doesn't really have that big Marvel budget to do big explosions and craziness and get too big, but the way they can still kind of feel very big, even on what I have to imagine is quite a limited budget, because it doesn't get crazy and big. They're all kind of trapped inside this the Vought media room and the newsroom and stuff. And also it had a lot of fun, the fact that they're like smashing each other and throwing each other about and laser beaming the Vought news studio and kind of bringing it down. There was a bit where Butcher like smashes someone on a table. It reminded me of in episode 3 of Star Wars where Palpatine's just destroying the Senate and he's like, it's a metaphor! Symbolism! And it reminded me of that, but like on a very low scale, because they're destroying just one media room. I also love in this, we've got bigger fish to fry moment where Butcher and Homelander are teaming up to verse Soldier Boy, and they're like, we're main cast, we've got to destroy this season big bad, he's got to get out of here, it's the season finale, we've got to kill him right now, and then we'll fight in season 4. Classic storytelling for an old show, because we're main cast. But then Maeve is like, actually, no, you've got bigger fish to fry, I don't, you're my big fish, I'm coming for you. And they have a big punch up, and there's a moment where he like grabs her face, and he goes to do the mountain viper thingy, where he's like, I'm gonna crush your skull, and he gets in the eyes, but he only gets in one, and in that moment, I was kind of like, you don't blind someone in one eye just to kill them 5 seconds later. This kind of feels like that's her injury, like, so she's gonna survive. Which then, you know, it happens and I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, that's really horrific and bloody, but I kind of feel like, you know, I can see it with an eye patch and there'll be a joke where she's like, I'm a pirate now, Pirate Maeve, or whatever. But then I kind of feel like the rest of the scene, I'm like, I don't really see her dying. But then they do the whole, you're not a hero, and she's like, there are no heroes, and she closes the door early in the episode, so it's like, ooh, it's a character development. Now she's the hero, and she does the big hero sacrifice save. And this is my big issue for the episode. She does her big save. They jump out of a building, Soldier Boy does his big power-destroying klablammy explosion. It goes boom. The building is shattered, but not too shattered, so it's all good. And it's just her and Soldier Boy that have died. But neither of them die, and I understand Soldier Boy, he's not going to die. That makes total sense, because he's, you know, we haven't set up that he gets hurt at all when he does his big explosion. So he lands with his powers still, because he doesn't lose his powers when he does his power-destroying kabloomy explosion. But Maeve has lost her powers, like in that scene where she's got the eye patch and she's like, I'm being written out of the show, but I survived. Isn't that fun and cool? My girlfriend's here. We're just going to leave and it's going to be fun and cool, but I'm a hero. And everything worked out perfectly fine. Just a nice little bow on top of everything. But that makes no, it just makes no sense. It makes no sense. I do not understand. It completely deflated the episode until that final stinger, and those final last 2 kind of stingers with the episode that kind of set up season 4 and make me go, oh, no, I'm back. Because it just is such a bizarre choice, because I really like the idea that she sacrificed herself. That feels exactly where the character was being set up for, where she's so bitter and so like, oh no, there are no heroes. But of course she's going to do the hero play at the end. But then it's like, kill her, but then she doesn't die. It doesn't make any sense to me, because it's like, the powers go kabloomy, she's falling in the sky, she's like, my powers, they disappear. Then she falls like 50 stories and hits the ground and has a couple of bruises, and they pick her up and she walks off and she's fine. What? So essentially, the only way that makes sense is if the powers go kabloomy and she's losing her powers, hits the ground, and as she's on the ground, she's like, oh, thank God I hit the ground before my powers dissipated. And then as she gets up, she's like, oh my God, my powers, they're gone. Perfect, fantastic timing. I hate it. I really dislike that. It feels really cheap and lazy. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why they felt the need to do it like this. She could have stopped him in a way where it makes sense that she doesn't die. But yeah, I don't know. She fell way too far. The powers thing, to me, they lose the powers straight away. Like, Kimiko gets hit, and immediately she's like, I'm not healing from that hit on the wall. But she hits a wall for like 2 meters. Maeve fell like 100 stories. Like, what is happening? Hated it, but everything else was great. But that really soured the episode, because that's kind of the closure and the end of a character. And I do think that is always the issue with a season finale or a character's end. Once you get to that final thing, and if it doesn't really work for you, you're kind of soured on the whole experience, and you're kind of like, I'm not going to be able to appreciate it all leading up, knowing this is how it ends now, just because it feels weirdly just like, yeah, it all worked out for the best, even though, I mean, damn logic, damn things making sense. It doesn't matter, because Maeve is happy. Why aren't you happy for Maeve? I am happy for Maeve, but I would have been more happy if it had made sense. So Maeve's death isn't the only death we get this season, because it's a season finale. Of course, we have a couple of people perish. And we've got one big death that I honestly couldn't believe. And it's been building up to it. There's been hints along the way, but it was probably the most shocking thing that happened all season. I'm talking, of course, about Ashley's hair. She's bald. She is so bald, horrifying. When Homelander's like, take that wig off, I was just like, no. Oh, no, don't do it. And then she pulls it off, just horrifying. Like, There's been so many moments of her pulling her hair out, right in that sex scene in that first episode, where she's like, pull my hair out, ha ha ha. And you kind of saw it coming, but then I thought as she kind of embraced being like Homelander's lackey and embraced being the CEO of Vought, that the hair stopped falling out because it looks luscious and red and beautiful. But no, she fully lost it all and she completely tore it all out, and now she's wearing a wig. Incredible stuff, really powerful, a fantastic reveal. Her character is just working on every level. I love her so much. She's such an interesting character. And then we get a little bit of humanity right at the end where she sees Maeve. That's probably the only good thing about the Maeve not being dead, is that she sees Maeve in the video camera and she's like, no, let's let her get away with this one. Let's delete this and make sure Homelander thinks she's dead. Beautiful, amazing, and there's no words of dialogue with her just looking at other Lindsay and just kind of being like, we know what to do here. And I thought that was really, really good, especially because as they're all running out of the building, like 5 seconds earlier, she's like, Lindsay, you're not a super VIP, so you don't actually get the super awesome helicopter escape. Speaking of tragic death, we actually get an actual death this episode, Black Noir. And this was really shocking, because I had suddenly, after last week's kind of revelation and reveals that he's got little cartoon characters running about being like little quirky cartoon characters just living around him. And with this episode, we even get them just flying around, like he hugs Homelander and the love hearts appear. And I remember thinking, I hope this stays. I hope this is like, you know, a fixed kind of addition to Black Noir's character. I feel like every time he does anything now, I'm reading so much more emotion from his face. I'm really, really enjoying the character. Now we've got all that backstory. Like, he was fun as that mysterious character, you know, the faceless assassin. But now that we know so much about him, I actually like him a lot more. It's really, really awesome. It's not like when you learn a mystery, like a reveal, and you're kind of like, the mystery and the you know, intrigue and the, you know, all that stuff, it's kind of ruined. You're like, he's just a guy, I'm not as intrigued by him anymore. I find him more intriguing now. And so to then kill him was devastating. But I also think that Homelander does need to kill characters. Otherwise, he's just standing there being like, I'll kill all of them. If I snap, I'll kill all of you. And they're like, he could just kill us all. But if he doesn't, like, actually kill anyone, like a mainstay, like, member of the Seven ever, he starts to feel like all talk, no walk kind of situation. And yeah, I know he killed Harry Styles, Sonic Boy, whatever his name was. But that guy was like barely a main character. He was like, he arrived, he's like, I am good and just and I love Starlight and I'm definitely not going to die next episode. And you're like, well, he's like built into the show to die. Whereas killing a mainstay member of the Seven, huge, crazy, really heartbreaking that he didn't even get to kind of like have a punch on. Like, he's just like, did you lie to me about my dad? And he's like, I did. I did lie to you about your dad. That should be fine, right? But then Homelander's like, no. Didn't you read the episode title when you were reading the script? It's called Daddy Issues. So I'm going to kill you because I got some serious daddy issues. Rips him out, intestines everywhere. Heartbreaking, seeing the little cartoon characters all gather around and they're like, it's all good. It's all going to be happy and good. And I'm like, how is this emotional? How is this so devastating? These little cartoon characters are obscene and crazy and just... It's a very surreal sequence, and then he just dies. No punch, no fight. He just dies. I never thought Black Noir's death would make me feel so much, and it would really kind of hurt me, and it really kind of shock me and sadden me. I don't know. They've done so much great work with Noir this season, especially in episode 7. Like, that just leaps and bounds, but I guess they were doing all that because he was going to tragically perish. And I think that sometimes those kind of deaths really work for me when the character has suddenly like become so much more interesting and the intrigue is increasing. Because yes, I liked black, silent, mysterious Noir, but I also kind of felt nothing to him. I'm like, that's funny, but everyone is so fleshed out, so developed, so well kind of characterized, and I find there so many different facets to them all. And Black Noir was kind of one note. So when they suddenly made him 2-note, 3-note, and he had all these notes all over him. And I was like, this is sick. I like this. I finally love this character. Finally, everyone in this show is working, except Frenchie and Kimiko. I'll get to them for 5 seconds. No, I'll do it right now. They're still the weakest link of the show. I don't really like them. Every time Frenchie and Kimiko do anything, I'm like, who cares? You weren't even interesting when Kimiko could die and there were stakes, but now she's back and immortal and who cares? I don't know. Frenchie does like a big speech at one point and then Hughie's like, Frenchie, shut up. The characters people like are talking and Frenchie shuts up. I'm like, good. Shut up, Frenchie. I don't know. That's probably too harsh. Is it though? I don't know. I'm curious if anyone likes Frenchie. It's just, his whole plot feels so separate. So just like, why am I talking about Frenchie? Back to Noir. And we even had that amazing scene where Homelander's like, I know what you're thinking. I can see your face. Literally, I'm Superman. I've got X-ray vision. I see your face. I see the scars. I see when you smile. I see when you're lying. Are you lying? And I'm like, oh, this is so good. It's so cool to think he can always see actually what's behind the mask. And that was just, I don't know, that just blew me away. I'm like, oh, of course, I've never thought about that. But he's always knowing what Noir's thinking, even though no one else has any clue. And that was just super cool. I love when a character becomes super interesting and they're most amazing and they're the best they've ever been, and then they get taken away from us. That's some of the most satisfying kind of kills and deaths in a show. And they really, really work for me. As opposed to kind of the big bad season, I'm the season big bad, I'm Soldier Boy, I'm season 3's Stormfront. And then when he gets kind of locked in the tube and defeated, I'm like, yeah, well, the fight was cool, everything was really, really great. And then towards the end, Starlight's getting all the lights, he's cranking them up to 12 or whatever. And it's like, and she's like standing up and he's like, I'm going to take her out. I'm like, no, you're not. And when it got to that point in the episode, it kind of just felt a bit like, well, they'll defeat him. No matter what happens here, I'm a little deflated from the action because I just know he's going to be beaten. Because it's the season finale and he just has to be defeated. That's just kind of how these things go. So those he didn't die, but he's pretty much dead. I don't really think they're going to bring him back. It just kind of feels like, yeah, okay, yeah, like it's not bad by any means. And it all kind of works. You get your Maeve sacrifice and stuff, even though, as I said, I don't like that she survived. That just doesn't make sense logic-wise. I don't understand how that worked. But yeah, I don't know. Noir's death, like a shocking season finale death, because he's, a maintainer of the show, whereas your villain of the season dying or being defeated, yeah, it's fine. It doesn't really do anything either way for me. It happened. I'm like, okay. I am mostly just disappointed because Dean Winchester is gone and I love him. I love Jensen Ackles. I love his performance as Soldier Boy. I just want more. But I guess that's what you want. You want to be left wanting more rather than, being like, maybe this should have been 6 episodes. Oh, a whole hour. I was on my phone for the last 20 minutes. Like, blah. So I guess wanting more is always better than not wanting more and wishing it was less. So yeah, why am I complaining? And so then after the big fight, after all the things that happened, Butcher is sitting in in the hospital or whatever, and the doctor's like, oh, you're gonna die, Butcher. It could be any moment now, really, a couple of months. Butcher's like, really? He's like, yeah, oh, well, maybe. If you're lucky, if you're really lucky, probably, 12 months to 18 months, which really just felt like he was going, Butcher, I've got to warn you, you're only going to last 1 more season, maybe 2 more seasons, depending on the ratings and what we feel like, so, ooh, you're only going to last till as long as the show wants to last. And then when we're up to our final season, ooh, that 10th E, it's going to come, it's going to kill you. Ooh, I'm sorry to tell you that. And I was kind of like, sure. It's kind of nice that there are consequences to him using the superpowers, but the way they did it really just felt like it's like 12 months, 18 months, a season or 2. I don't know, as long as the show wants to go on, you'll probably be fine because you're our main character. So after episodes and episodes of Hughie and Starlight falling and fighting and, separating, this week he gets in the car and he's like, I'm sorry for all those things I said on all those episodes and whatever. And she's like, I told you so. I bloody told you so. And now they're fine. Cool, sure. It doesn't feel like you wrap that up way too nicely, like a nice little neat bow. Whatever. I don't know. Why am I surprised? I really like that he was separated with Butcher. But then after Butcher does everything, he comes in, he's got his cup with the 7 on them, like he's gone to see the movie and he's got those special cups you get when you go see a movie and they're like, you want the special cup for $5 more at the cinema? And you're like, well, I paid $45 for a popcorn and a drink, so make it $50 for the cup. Sure. And so he's got the cup, he's drinking, and he's like, ho ho ho, baby, I'm back and it's all fine now, right, guys? It's all fine? That civil war we were having this season, it's fine? And they're all like, it's fine, now it's a democracy, you don't lead us. And he's like, shut up, Frenchie, and I've got to agree with Butcher, shut up. So the season ends with 2 big cliffhangers. And it's pretty funny because season 2 ended with pretty much the same cliffhanger where it was like, oh my god, head popper lady, she's like in the Senate or running for Congress or whatever. And this one just kind of goes, oh, remember how she just kind of took a back seat for like most of the season, like the last half? Well, she's back, and now she's running for VP. Oh my god, she's vice president. And so she's taking like another step up the political ladder. And then Butcher's like, we better go kill head popper lady. So cool, setting up her. I wouldn't be surprised if they go, actually, no, the main character, villain of the next season will be other character, new Soldier Boy from, the comics or whatever. And then at the end of that season, she's like, I'm president. I'm the Lex Luthor, but with head-popping powers of this universe. And then the end of season 4, they're like, we got to stop her for season 5. Maybe my last season because of the temp V poison in my body. But maybe not, depending on ratings. Obviously, depending on ratings. But then the big kind of cliffhanger was we bring back Ryan and Homelander lands. He's got his big crowd of yelling Homelander fans and they're all like, yay, we love Homelander. He's so cool. And they're all wearing like, Homelander clothes, the American flag kind of colors and all that stuff. And his boy lands, he's like, I've got a son, look how cool my son is. Everyone's like, son, yay! So we have this one guy dressed as yellow, he throws the thing, he's like, you suck, fascist child, or whatever he says. And then instead of Homelander being like, oh, I'm angry, but I won't do anything, he just flat out kills him. Horrific, but kind of amazing. I feel like I've been waiting for Homelander to kind of get to this point, get to the point where he's just an openly a monster. He's just killing people, and he's like, well, I'm Superman, like, what are you gonna do? And then we have Mother's Milk, the guy punched his, like, daughter's stepdad, or whoever that guy was, the, stepfather, and he's like, yeah! And then the whole crowd from Silence start cheering, and they start cheering. Homelander does his, that worked? Okay. Everyone loves me, ah! Oh, Homelander. So well. Just, I cannot stress enough how good Anthony Starr is. There is never a moment in this show where I'm not like, he's becoming one of the best villains of all time. He's so good, but he's not just a monster. Like, there's so much heart to the character in this really perverse way. And it's really breathtaking. And he's just so desperate for people to love him. It's so tragic. It's so heartbreaking. But he is a monster. And this scene is just everything. It's everything about Homelander in one scene. And they're all cheering around him. But then we get the most terrifying moment where Ryan at first looks a little bit like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have gone with my dad. But that's kind of what we've been doing all show. And so no, character development, character change, which is good and healthy for the show and terrifying for, like, season 4, we get a little bit of a smile at the end. That smile, that damn smile, like, oh, breathtaking, amazing, such an amazing way to end the season. And then just, like, over the credits, like, I was in awe. Like, I really was in awe. That's such a great cliffhanger. I am so fascinated and interested to see where this will go. I kind of wanted it to be like this, like Homelander and his son teaming up together and him trying to learn to be a parent and learn to be a dad, something he never had. And that is kind of why I'm a little disappointed Soulja Boy isn't a part of it, because I really love the idea of granddad, father, son, all together, all with superpowers, all way too powerful. What does that do? But sure, we can have the granddad's done. That's fine. We can just have father and son. That kind of makes it more intimate, and that is really the character we've been following the whole show, not just this season. So yeah, I'm super excited for season 4. I just want it right now, up in my veins so much. Once again, Homelander's the best part of the show, and the boys are kind of the weakest aspect. Hughie was really good this season. I really liked him and Butcher. Butcher's always great. But Mother's Milk and Frenchie, especially Frenchie. Mother's Milk's pretty good, but for him and Frenchie, they are kind of the weak links of the show, especially Frenchie and Kimiko. I just find them uncompelling, and I don't know, Kamika's like, I'm a psychopath now, but it's all good because I'm embraced it. What do you mean? Why does everyone love her but hates Butcher? They're like the same. Like, I don't know. It's just like, whatever. A-Train and the Deep kind of take a little bit of a backseat this episode, but we still get some really great stuff to kind of close out their arcs. The Deep is like stuffing his face and watching his ex-wife on the TV being like, I escaped the Deep, and essentially how the season started where he's like, I escaped the cult. She's doing the same thing with a movie and a book and all that things, but escaping the Deep. And he's like stuffing his face and crying, and it's just like, how am I feeling so sorry for the Deep? Like, I just keep remembering him in season 1. I'm like, it's such a masterclass of storytelling and just the nuances of life and people that they can make someone who was so despicable in season 1 feel so pathetic, and I feel so sorry for him now. He's had a great season. He's been kind of like an Aquaman has sex with fish kind of joke for a lot of it, but there are moments like this where I really feel like they've done a lot for that character and made him feel very human and real and flawed and horrible and pathetic, but I still feel sorry for him. I don't know. He's really great. He kind of reminds me of Theon from Game of Thrones, where he's just like, I hate him, I love him, I feel sorry for him, I hate him, and just it's up and down, and it's just a really interesting roller coaster of emotions for him. Speaking of that, the same for A-Train. The guy who started killing, like, Robin, Hughie's girlfriend in the first scene, is now a character who murdered someone for his brother. He's like, I did it for you, and the brother's like, screw you, I hate you. That just totally went like the opposite way I thought, and I felt so sorry for A-Train, because yeah, he might have done it for himself, to, feel powerful and all that stuff, but I really do feel like he did it for his brother. Like, that's what he felt like he should do in that moment, use his powers to end this. And the guy's like, no, I wanted him to have his mug shut up, I wanted this, I wanted that, don't you dare step in my house, you murderer. Devastating, really, really awful. I felt so sorry for A-Train, and I did kind of think I wanted him to die at the end of this season, kind of wrap up his arc, but I am interested to see where we go from here. And now that Maeve and Black Noir are gone, we do need some of the 7 to stay. But I also am really excited because we have 2 more spots. They can't call them the 5, so we have 2 more spots for people to join the 7. And I can't wait to see what they have next. I would really want to see a version of Martian Manhunter, but the boys version, like from space, from like from Mars or like Venus or whatever. I would really, really like to see that. I'm sure there's a character like that in the boys, and I would love for them to be a mainstay in season 4. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below. I would love to know what everyone thought of the boys season 3 finale.